Hello and welcome back everyone to the video series dedicated show on MTV that is The Jealous Type. That's right, we're talking about The Challenge Season 41 Vets and New Threats Episode 2. This episode touched on a lot of different aspects of the game. You have rookie strategizing, you have love triangles, you have laser light shows for the elimination. This episode has it all, but let's start off where last episode left off, and that was TJ lets everyone know that after each elimination, everybody will have to pick new partners. And the selection order will be how everyone finished in the previous daily challenge. So Bananas and Dee, being in power, they also get the opportunity to pick the first two partners. And they go down the line, so on and so forth. I'll be honest, I like the idea that everybody has to choose a different partner after each elimination. On top of, there's an incentive to do well in daily challenges. Not only are you going to get performance points, which will help you later on in the game, but you finishing in a higher place in a daily challenge will now lend you an opportunity to either get the partner that you want or to get a good partner in the selection process at the end of the next elimination. The new partners for this week's episode, you have Dee choosing Leroy, Bananas and Izzy, Aviv and Jake, Jeremy and Nani, Theo, Sydney, Olivia and Will, Cedric and Ashley, Michaela and Leonardo, Gabe and Cara, Naya and Ben, Justin and Anissa, Leka and Turbo, Derek chooses Blue, America chooses CTs, and finally, Tay and Derek, as nobody chose them, they are paired up with each other. On top of the new partners, we learn that the person who wins the elimination will get a +2 in the performance points totals. So Justin, who got 1 point in last week's daily challenge, winning against Rogan gets him a +2, and now he has 3. Now everybody goes back to the challenge house, and I will say that the challenge house and the murmurs and drama, at least in the first half of this episode, was kind of quiet. I know that the tension in the house can't be a 10 out of 10 100% of the time. I just thought there was going to be a little bit more strategy, a little bit more tension than what we got, which was just everybody getting to know their new partners and everything, and it makes a lot of sense. We first go to the kitchen where CT is making something that looks really delicious, and he's getting time to chat with Adrienne, who is injured. She is the hangnail. She's kind of laying in wait. She can't play in this week's daily challenge, so she's trying to make some connections to help her out in the upcoming vote. She does feel like she's getting close with CT, and that CT would have her best interest at heart, and she feels like she can trust him. We finally get to see this America Blue connection because we knew that they played on the same season of Big Brother with each other, and Blue is hoping that she went from one Derek to another, that Derek K will be an upgrade. The little breadcrumb that gets dropped off in the first half of this episode is Anissa and Olivia kind of questioning Will, trying to get to know him a little bit more. They ask him if he is single, and it is this point that we hear that he and Dee actually had a thing with one another. And Will is feeling some type of way seeing her cozy up to Johnny Bananas, which Johnny and Dee are all over each other throughout this entire episode, which will play a bigger role later down the line, so we're just going to put a pin in that. Next up, we see Jeremy, Leka, Sydney, and Dee all strategize with each other. These 4 rookies decide that they're going to look out for one another. They feel like they're the 4 strongest rookies, and they have an alliance called the Janes and Tarzan. How well will this alliance work with each other? We're gonna have to wait and see, because now everybody dons their challenge gear, head down to meet up with TJ in a place with tons of dirt and 4 dune buggies for this week's daily challenge called Side by Side. These 4 buggies will be jumping over a gap in which that the challenge contestants can stand at a safe distance underneath them to try to find a clue or legend to a puzzle underneath all of these buggies. Once they feel like they memorized it, they can run back to their puzzle station and start putting it together. The points are exactly the same as episode 1's daily challenge, where first place gets 8 points and is in power. Second place will get 7 points, and so on and so forth until you get to 8th place and 1 point. The woman of the last place team will be sent directly to the elimination. I think on paper that this was pretty interesting, but in execution, I kind of felt like this daily challenge was all right. I like the creativity of putting the puzzle legend underneath these 4 dune buggies and having them jump across. It is sort of a spectacle, but at the same time, I felt like it was kind of wash, rinse, repeat. It was the same thing over and over again. And then we get the twist that if the contestants have an eye for detail, that they would realize that the puzzle is actually a mirror of one another. We hear this early on from CT and his CT pro tip. Look, there has to be something more to this puzzle. If we can find a pattern, then we should just go for it. And really, it doesn't take long for a lot of the higher placed teams that finish this daily challenge to find that there is a sequence that they can just mimic one side after they get it. Leka quickly finds the pieces that are exactly the same on the other side, and her and Turbo work extremely well. Dee mentions in her confessional that Leka and Turbo get this puzzle so quickly. They win first place, get safety, get power, and they get 8 performance points. Olivia and Will are also another team that quickly find out that there is a pattern, and they are able to get second place and 7 points. CT and America use CT's pro tip to get third place and 6 points. Then you have Anissa and Justin, Bananas and Izzy, Ashley and Cedric, Michaela and Leonardo, Naya and Ben round out the top 8 and getting performance points. We hear some confessionals from rookies that do not know their partner whatsoever or have limited knowledge of their partners. There's points where Dee says that she chose Leroy hoping that he was good at puzzles, and Leroy has a confessional being like, I'm not good at puzzles, I always give it up to my partners. Dee, I don't think, was panicking, but there is a point where she is like, we need help. So she abandons Leroy to run over to Leka, who is one of the 3 Janes, asking for hints to getting this puzzle done. But Turbo is there to shut everything down. He doesn't want to get disqualified for helping out another team, and he's also trying to help out Leka, being like, everybody is watching you at all times, and if you start helping other people and showing how close you are connected with other people, that could put a target on your back. In 9th place, you have Aviv and Jake, 10th, Theo and Sydney, 11th, Nani and Jeremy, 12th, Kara and Gabe, 13th is Leroy and Dee. It comes down to the Derricks and their partners, Derek C with Tay, Derek K with Blue. Now I will say that I feel like Derek C and Tay worked better with each other than, say, Derek K and Blue. Blue felt like Derek wasn't helping her at all. And even Derek himself in the confessional said that if there was an LVP award, that he would gladly take it because he felt like he didn't do much to help out in this situation. That this puzzle was completely lost to him, that it went over his head, and he felt bad that they got last place and Blue would be sent directly to the elimination. But we do hear from TJ that the power pair of Turbo and Leka will not choose one team to save to be sent into the elimination or to be nominated in the selection process. Instead, they will pick one woman to then be nominated next to Adrienne, the hangnail, where the rest of the house vote, the jury, will vote either Adrienne or the person that they chose for the nominations to go up against Blue. To be honest, I'm not a huge fan of limiting the house vote. I like when all options are on the table, but I'm cool with it. I'm cool with the decision of letting the power couple decide to nominate another person up there and then have the house vote. Now it's time to get to the real drama of this episode, where everybody goes back to the challenge house, changes, and goes out to the bar, where we see some fun and games, mainly from Turbo as he's giving Johnny Bananas a gift. Leka goes over and talks to Adrienne and Blue gives a very succinct case on why she wants Tay to be nominated. Tay came in second to last in this last week's daily challenge. She's a part of the UK Alliance. If it's going to be something physical, her and Tay would be an equal match. Adrienne says, hold on, wait a minute. If you're going to pick a rookie, then that's playing into the hands of the veterans, and we should be going after a veteran. So Leka's like, okay, give me a name and we'll think about it. And Adrienne looks around and is like, Michaela? And Leka's like, what now? If you nominate Michaela, the vote would instantly go to send in Adrienne. And then it would be Adrienne versus Blue. The veterans would push to save another veteran. We hear from Leka that it's not going to be Michaela. She's never going to choose Michaela, and it's going to be Tay. With that settled, we now turn our focus to the men, who were very messy and very chaotic and very dramatic throughout this entire episode. We go to Justin and Derek having a conversation, their first conversation about Derek's vote. Justin, I felt, got a lot off his chest. Derek's like, whoa, you're kind of taking things a little personal. You know, this is a game and I just met you a couple of days ago. And I feel like Derek put himself in this position because in that moment, I think he just got caught up in the emotions of Justin, spoke without thinking, and promised too much that when he got to, say, talking with Olivia and everybody, people were like, yeah, we're gonna vote in Justin and you did the wrong thing. We have the whole 2-for-1 debacle between him and Leonardo. What I can gather from the information of this argument is that Derek went up to the bar to pay his tab. Leonardo comes up at that moment and says, oh, they have a 2-for-1 special. The bartender gives him 2 drinks and then says that there was no special and you have to pay for both of these drinks. Derek gets frustrated. One, that he paid full price for both of these drinks, and also one of them is now being taken without asking. And so there's this huge thing between Leonardo and Derek, which then turns to Leonardo getting loud with Anissa when Anissa was trying to tell him, like, why did you think you could take the drink? This is a lot of drama for a lot of nothing. I don't understand where Leonardo comes in. It's just putting a target on his back while also putting a target on Derek's back. This was wild. This isn't even the biggest drama that happens in this night because, as previously mentioned, Will and Dee had a thing. It wasn't boyfriend and girlfriend. They weren't going out officially, but they were doing a little bit, you know, the horizontal monster mash. And from what Will said, they did it in the hotel right before coming onto the season. So very recently this was all happening. Will said that Dee's his type to a T, and I think he was hoping for more than what Dee was thinking this was. Got into his feels of seeing Dee and Bananas getting very, very chummy with each other over the course of the night, and his just emotions came through it. This was a roller coaster. Now I will say that the edit feels like they took a lot of scenes and shuffled them around, because there was a point where he had his shirt off, then he had his shirt back on, and shirt off and shirt on. So I think that there was a lot going on in this episode and in the editing. But from what we can see is that Will is getting frustrated about the whole Dee and Bananas thing. He's getting angry on the bus. Then it seems like he gets kind of calm when he's talking to Leka, Justin, and Anissa, and he feels like they're talking him down, and then all of a sudden he sees them over the balcony, and then he gets angry again. So then he puts his fist in a wall and his hand starts to swell and he needs ice. The emotions come out and he starts to cry. Will was all over the place, to the point where I feel like he put a target on his back as well. Olivia, Derek, Naya, and a couple of other people are talking about it, and Olivia's like, thank goodness I'm no longer partners with him, and moving forward, as long as he's in the game, I don't want to be partnered up with him ever again. So I feel like the men are really putting a big target on their back. I think Derek already had a target from what happened with Justin last episode, then Leonardo with this 2-for-1 debacle, and then Will with this Dee situation. It's a lot, but now we're gonna put a pin in all of that drama as we move on to the selection process. As mentioned, Leka and Turbo decide that they're going to nominate Tay, as Blue mentioned that she would like to go up against Tay in the elimination. It is pretty much unanimous. 11-1, Tay will be sent in against Blue. It's very interesting because the one team to vote for Adrienne is CT and America. Now, Blue mentioned she wants to go up against Tay, and America and Blue are very close with one another, but America mentions that she is closer with Tay than Adrienne, so she's willing to forego whatever her big brother buddy wants and vote in who she thinks that she can't work with, and that is Adrienne. It is settled. Going to the arena, we have Blue and Tay facing off against each other in this week's elimination called Laser Focus. This elimination is essentially bringing balls in to the 21st century. In this elimination, lasers will appear in the arena. The offensive player will have to make their way into the ring and then try to go and touch the light for a point. The person on defense will have to try to stop that person from touching the light. There'll be 10 lasers per round for each person. Also, one last thing is each person's hands will be tied together and they'll put a bag around them so that way they could only like kind of bob and weave with one another. I like this elimination. I like this more than Balls In because I think it gives a lot more versatility to the players. Each round can be a little bit longer, and with the different laser beams, you can then use different strategies, and I just really enjoyed seeing both Blue and Tay in this elimination against each other. I feel like this was the perfect matchup as they are the same height and the same weight basically, so they were able to really show some physicality. In round 1, Blue was able to touch 5 lasers out of 10, and Tay was able to get the first round getting 6 lasers. So Tay goes up 1-0. I thought Tay was going to get round 2 and win this thing 2-0. She was mere centimeters from tying this thing up at 6, but Blue did a great job pushing her out of the way, getting her just out of reach of that last laser, getting this win, and tying things up 1-1. It all comes down to this third and final round. And as we move into the third and final round, we saw that the players needed to get some much needed break, much needed water, and it just felt like Blue was slowing down. Now when watching this elimination, 3 rounds sounded tough enough, but after the episode, Blue took to social media mentioning that they didn't do 3 rounds, they did 5 full rounds, where the challenge cut out 2 rounds where both Tay and Blue tied. No wonder Tay and Blue were exhausted after each and every round, as well as Blue also mentioned that she suffered a concussion during this elimination, hence why in the confessional she talked about how she was having dizzying or blurry vision. To me, this sounds very similar to what happened in season 39 between Kieran and Jordan with the King of the Hills elimination, where the challenge 2 cut out a few rounds of that elimination, also cut around some context in that elimination. It still was a really good elimination, which I too think that this too was a very good elimination, but cutting out rounds does take out some context as well as takes away from the experience of knowing just how exhausted these players can be doing 5 full rounds. Also, I would rather see the 2 other rounds that Tay and Blue tied rather than listening to the argument between Derek and Leonardo with the 2-for-1 drink specials. In the third round, Blue was able to get 4 out of 10, but Tay was able to get 5 of the first 5 lasers, and Blue just fell to the ground and could not get up, and Tay just went over around and just got all the lights, and she won 2 out of 3 rounds. She was able to get +2 performance points, gets to stay in the game, and Blue is unfortunately eliminated from the season. Adrienne is no longer the hangnail. Instead, she joins back into the game, and she will be partnered up with somebody else at the start of next week's episode for the selection process. But that is it for this episode. I do want to say that I thought that this was a decent episode. I felt like the drama in the house did subside quite a bit from last week. We did get quite a bit of drama from Will and the whole Dee and Banana situation, which I did not see coming. I did not know that Will and Dee had a thing. There was no inkling to it after episode 0 and episode 1, so at least we're in the know now. And we'll have to wait and see if it's going to play out even more so in the next coming episodes. The whole Leonardo and Derek drink thing was kind of wild. I did really enjoy the elimination, and I think that the elimination was the highlight of this episode, as I thought that it was a shining star. I've loved the first 2 eliminations right off the bat because I think the daily challenge side by side was just kind of all right. I think it was good in theory. I think it was better on paper, but it kind of was just all right when they actually did the challenge. But what do you think about this season so far? Let me know down in the comment section below. What do you think about the daily challenge side by side? What did you think about the elimination? Would you like to see this elimination again in future seasons? Let me know that down in the comment section below as well. What do you think about the whole Will and Dee Bananas love triangle happening? What do you think about the matchup of Tay versus Blue? And overall, what did you think about this episode and where it'll place further along in the season? Let me know anything and everything down in the comment section below. I want to hear what you have to say. I now want to give a special shout out thank you to everyone who supports me over at patreon.com/angelcakevids. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your generosity. Thank you. And thank you to everyone who's watching this video up to this point. I'll be back really soon with more Challenge 41 content, more challenge content, more content in general. But until then, peace.